Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to All About Healing. I'm your host, Emily Francis, and this show is every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So I encourage you, please, to keep tuning in and also to reach out to me. Let me know that you're out there. I got an email from someone from Idaho a couple weeks ago. They took advantage of our giveaway. We had a giveaway that day, and it was so fun to find out that there are people that are listening and that like to learn what we've got to say. We have a lot of really big guests coming up in the month of March as well. A lot of doctors and healing. We're going to be talking about the alkaline and acid connection, some of the things that I think people need to hear. We're going to look into the coronavirus and what we can do to help ourselves. We're going to be doing a lot. So March is basically, in my head, I'm dubbing it the doctor's month. So I want to get down and dirty into true, authentic healing with the medical field. Anyway, reach out to me, Emily A. Francis. That's A like Apple. EmilyAFrancis@gmail.com. You can email me direct, or you can go to my website, EmilyAFrancisBooks.com. And today we had Beth Shaw on the line, and she was very impressive. You know, it's always so different when you research somebody online and then you get to talk to them and they come alive and you realize, like, wow, this person's like super impressive, really incredible. And Beth Shaw is one of those people. So she just wrote the new book, Healing Trauma with Yoga, and she has a couple of other books out as well that I encourage you to look up. I'm actually under contract right now with HCI Publishing, the Health Communications. It's the health. They did A Child Called It and Chicken Soup for the Soul. You guys know some of them. So this is my first time working with them, and I'm working on a new book called Healing Ourselves Whole. And I am doing a ton of work around not just trauma, but I have created a somatic emotion chart. Nobody else has ever created this before. The somatic emotion chart. And it's coming out in May with my new book, Whole Body Healing, is where I first did it. And now I realize, once I saw it and once I had other people look at it, that it's really a spectacular and simple way to look at the emotional body and what we're doing for our healing. So I want to talk about this chart a little bit because I look at healing and trauma extremely differently than a cognitive therapist. I am a body worker. I work with your body. I'm one of the few people in the world that is licensed to put my hands on you. Not a lot of professions in the world give you coverage to actually work with people hands-on. I take it as one of the most humbling and honorable positions of the world that I could ever do, is to help people to heal themselves. At the end of the day, of course, it is always up to you. You, in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, lock in and decide, I'm going to heal from this. And that doesn't mean every time, but you have to give yourself permission to heal. And that's really important. My naturopath always says that whenever he works with people, the hardest part that he comes across is that people don't allow themselves the permission to heal, that we don't feel like we deserve it, that we don't feel like we're worthy of prominent health. You know what? If you're not doing the work, it's really hard to feel deserving. But not everybody is perfect at maintaining their health. You know, you have these incredible people that stand up there and they tell you all about sleeping well and eating well and meditating and having a proper mindset and having the proper attitude and doing all the physical exercise that you can muster up to do during the day. But some of us go through different phases and feel like we're falling behind, or have young children, and it is really, really hard. Now, it's also possible. Everything is possible. It's the way that you arrange your day and your schedule to make what is important to you. So I'm jumping off that soapbox now, and I want to talk more about the somatic emotions. Shame, guilt, grief. So it starts with trauma. Trauma is anything that has basically sliced itself into your body and anchors down into the tissues. It's something that happened to you in your life. It could be a car accident. It doesn't mean that it has to be an assault. It could be a car accident. It could be that somebody said something to you that broke you down to pieces or changed the way that your dialogue goes. A trauma is an unfortunate experience that your body and your mind have not only gone through but chosen to hold and store. Until those things change, it's really difficult to maintain a really good healing. And until you get to that place, you feel really heavy and really weighted down. And it's like carrying a backpack. And every time you go through something, you put a rock in. You just put that rock right in the back. I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with that later. I can't function right now to deal with it today. And that's okay, because that is the natural trauma response. It's not like anybody that goes through trauma turns around and calls their therapist and says, we got to get started. I just had a huge incident, and now I think we should go ahead and get going into my processing. Your processing is your own, and it's private, and it's deep, and it requires however long you need. However, a therapist can help you with the process to pull it back up and out, and to help it to attach to a different and new dialogue based in reality and based in the present time. Because I was saying this on the show, and I've done so much research now about this, that whenever a trauma has occurred and that is stored in your body and in your mind, it remains where you are the age when it occurred. So if you're 3 and something happens, the way that you identify through that trauma is still as a 3-year-old. So you could be a 65-year-old woman or man and still identify through the 3-year-old's eyes. It's not like that trauma became mature. It didn't. The dialogue doesn't change. You don't all of a sudden have a different perspective on what happened to you. Okay? That's so important to understand in trauma. That's why I advocate not just the holistic, not just me with bodywork and emotional release and Reiki and meditation and doing our own internal work, okay, and not just through yoga therapy, although those are incredibly beneficial. You do still ideally ought to seek a counsel in something like EMDR therapy. EMDR therapy is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. It's a reprocessing activation possibility. It brings it out of frozen time and into real time. And when it goes into real time, you can actually process through your adult mind. And that changes the way that the story sits in your body and in your mind. Never ever is the story going to become okay. Processing and releasing does not mean forgiving. And forgiving has nothing to do with somebody else. So forgiving is only the part that you played, okay? There's some certain things that I think we need to really understand if we're going to approach and face the things that have kept us down in our life, the way that we speak to ourselves. So going through the trauma, I also talk about shame. Shame is something that happens at you, and then it becomes yours. It's like taking a big pile of poo that somebody threw at you, and you grab it and you shove it down into your body. And now you take it over from whatever it was that happened outside of you. And that's really important, because I believe, I envision it now as a lace up. You're lacing up certain behaviors that make up your entirety of who you are and how you handle situations in your life. Shame is easy to lace up into who you are and into that vocal voice. Guilt after that. Guilt is more about the effects you have on others, or the effects that others have on others. It's a guilt thing. You're a part of. I might have caused this person pain. I might have done this. These are the reasons that I'm bad. I'm a bad girl. I'm a bad person. I'm not enough. Guilt is so about not being enough of anything. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not thin enough. I don't look the right part. I'm not going to be successful because people aren't going to like me, because I'm not likable enough, or I'm not cute enough, or whatever it is, enough. When you start to use those words that have enough, that's a guilt pattern, and that's laced up inside you. So you have to watch those patterns. And then the last one of the heavy is grief. And I can't even go into grief today. We're going to pick it up next week on the Energy Corner because it's too much. But there's a good thing. You have an action bridge that's suppress, which keeps you on the heavy 4, process and release, which takes you to the fab 4. And that's happy, joy, connected, and empowered. And we'll talk about that next week. You guys have a great week. Reach out to me. Make it a great week.